Let's get to you some other stories we're following for you today. Some telecom firms have started applying new charges on cost of call and data services for subscribers. A decision by telcos to adjust their tariffs was expected to have kick-started on the 1st of November. So what it means now is that if you make a call on the networks you're going to be telling you about, or you do stuff with data, you're going to realize an increase in the charges. Joining me in studio to discuss all of this is Joy Business Assistant Editor Norman Akwa-Hayford. So let's first start with why there are tariff adjustments.
Okay, so the reason is that in the mid-year budget review, the government decided to separate Get Fund and NHIS from the original VAT, which was 17.5. Remember that the percentages for the NHIL and Get Fund was 2.5 each, which brings it to 5%. And separating that from the original 17.5 brought VAT now to 12.5. Some people celebrated. They felt that, look.
And I remember there was a lot of confusion about it because people were trying to figure out what the calculations were, you know, because people were saying it was the same thing repackaged into something else, and others were just didn't know how this was going to turn out. Yeah, because at the time, in the face of it, it looks as if, you have some kind of, separation. So when you're going to pay VAT, it's going to be less than that. But we're forgetting that 5%, which you're going to get the government, the companies to be paying, could be passed on to the customers. And that is what we have seen with the implementation of this becoming a straight levy, no more part of the ad valorem basket, if I'll put it. So then it means that now these companies, we know of what the manufacturers have done. We know of what other sectors of the economy have done. But here we are on the telecom sector. They issue a letter from their chamber indicating that we are going to pass on the 5% to the customers. Today, I mean, it was supposed to have taken effect. That was yesterday. Yes. Which was on the 1st. Okay. And before we go on to that, I just want you to understand, for the benefit of people watching, what the new adjustments, I mean, I talk about the new charges introduced by government. What kind of relationship has it got to do with the telecoms industry? Somebody may be wondering. The decision to create new taxes, that is the NHIL and the Get Fund levies, to separate it from what we initially knew as VAT. What kind of correlation did it have with the telecoms industry? Okay, so what it means is that, remember that if you paid VAT on purchases and everything that you did, especially with the companies, the system was such that they could go back and claim the costs, after sales and all the things that have been done. Yeah. But now, if it's made a straight levy, it is like the company is supposed to now be the person that should bear the cost. But remember that no company looking at the current, cost implications will want to add on, especially when we talk of the fact that, yes, there's a lot of taxes in the system. So if I cannot claim, what do? I pass it on to the customer. So by how much have the tariffs gone up? It's by the 5%, which constitute this two taxes or levies that were taken out of the VAT, which is the Get Fund and the NHIS. Remember, I mean, it's very clear. Most of them said, look, fine, if you insist that's what you want to do, the customer should be willing to pay more. And that was one of the arguments that came up at the time, telling people that, look, you are going to be paying more for whatever services that we are rendering already to you. And that is what we are seeing. The impact of it is what we are seeing with the implementation of this particular law. Okay, so you mentioned that it was supposed to have started on the 1st of November. That was yesterday. And we didn't hear anything. In fact, we reported Joy Business, if you recall, that it had been delayed for some reasons. And so help us understand what the challenge was initially with starting this and where we are at now. Okay, so the National Communications Authority did give certain directives as to how the telecom companies should go about it. And I think that was even communicated in the press release. Most of us probably didn't give, ear to those fine details that were there. One of the first requirements was you needed, as a telecom company, to publish and notify your customers that, okay, this is going to take effect. Then you can go ahead and do the charging. But as of yesterday first, none of them had done that. In the morning, I mean, when we had come and we were going ahead with news, none of them had done that, which meant that you could not see that happen. And then later on in the day, we found out that one of them then published on its website
In fact, it was not supposed to even be just only on your website. You were supposed to also publish probably the dailies, or make sure you send what they do usually, bulk text messages to all their customers. So we later found out that one of them had published on their website indicating the changes, and you needed to indicate the old charges as against what the new ones will be, so that people don't feel you are overcharging them. So you can undercharge, but you don't go above that 5% if you want to implement the system.
Yeah, and
or the tax.
It seemed as if it was a wait-and-see game going on to see which of the telcos was going to increase their tariffs first. But I guess let's move on to what everybody has been waiting to hear. Which telco has increased its charges as of now?
Okay, as we speak, 2 of them have notified, which means that AirtelTigo, who were the first to have published on their website yesterday, indicated as to how much. So when you go to the website of AirtelTigo,
okay, so can we take a look at that? What the initial charges were and what they're charging now? Okay,
so there are 3 areas when you have a mobile phone. You're talking of voice rates, you're talking of data, and then you're talking of SMS. So let's categorize them into 3. Now let's start with the voice rate. Now if you go to AirtelTigo and you check on their website, they indicated clearly, so we wish to inform our esteemed customers of our new tariffs, which takes effect from 2nd of November, which is today. So if you are an AirtelTigo person, that is what is happening. And if you look at the rates, they have different plans under the voice band or voice rates. They have what they call the talk and browse SAR, and then they have what the Casa SAR, Legacy, Chow Chow, and Double Value. Now, if you look at the old rates, now they were charging 10.2 pesos per minute when you call within AirtelTigo, which means AirtelTigo to AirtelTigo, and that is on the Talk SAR platform. Okay. So, and if you look at the new rate, that has not even changed, and the same price was what they were charging if you called outside that network. Now you look at the Casa SAR plan, there's a bit of change over there. Initially, within Airtel or Airtel to Airtel calls, it was 15 pesos. Airtel to other networks was also 15 pesos. But today, what they are charging, the new rate is 16.8 pesos. That is for both, whether within or outside the network. That's how much they are charging. So clearly, you see an increment of 1.8 pesos.
You can see that on your screens. And we know that MTN has also started sending out messages to its customers about an increase in tariffs. What does the text message say?
Okay, so
no one is going to try to get that for you, but quickly. In your shots there, you're seeing what AirtelTigo is charging now compared to the previous rates.
I'm sure that if you're an MTN customer, if you haven't received it, you will receive it, I suppose, because I got mine just around 4 o'clock today. And it reads, "Dear valued customer, effective 2nd November 2018, your SMS, voice, and IDD tariffs will be reviewed upwards by 5%. Please visit MTN website," and they've given you a link to the website for the new rates and details. Thank you. Coming from MTN. But what is interesting is that when you go to the MTN website, we're expecting to see what was the old rate and what is the new rate.
That we don't see on the MTN website.
That you don't see on the MTN website.
This minute. I don't know what's going to happen subsequently.
So what they are telling us, what MTN is saying is that the current rate that is there is the old rate. Vodafone have not done that yet. Glow have not done that yet. We wait to see what they will.
Definitely wait to see. And there's a conversation about what this means for competition in the telecoms industry and what other alternatives we have when it comes to making calls and reaching out to people. But what it is right now is that Airtel and MTN, AirtelTigo, make no mistake, and MTN have increased their charges. We'll have more on that subsequently. Thanks very much indeed, Novan Aqua Hayford. He is Joy Business Assistant Editor. You're watching Business Live.